Let's talk about genre-defining video games. Just as horror has Resident Evil and Silent Hill, adventure games have Zelda, first-person shooters have GoldenEye and Halo, the 3D platformer genre found its ultimate champion in none other than the iconic Super Mario 64. This game redefined what was possible in the world of gaming and left an everlasting impact on the industry as a whole. Before the advent of Super Mario 64, gaming was primarily confined to the enchanting but flat worlds of 2D platformers. Titles like the original Super Mario Bros. Had already solidified their place in gaming history, capturing the hearts of players worldwide, but it was evident that the gaming industry was on the cusp of a monumental transformation. The transition from 2D to 3D gaming was no small feat. Game developers faced the daunting challenge of translating beloved 2D characters and worlds into fully immersive 3D environments, and it was during this pivotal moment that Nintendo's visionary developers rose to the occasion. With Super Mario 64, Nintendo took a leap of faith into the realm of 3D gaming, and the results were nothing short of astonishing. They successfully brought Mario, the iconic 2D plumber, into a three-dimensional world, and in doing so they transformed the very fabric of gaming itself. Gone were linear left-to-right platforming levels. Instead, Super Mario 64 presented players with a vast open world to explore. Mario could now run, jump, climb, and interact with objects in all directions, granting players unparalleled freedom and a truly immersive experience. The shift to 3D brought new gameplay mechanics with it, with Mario showcasing a dazzling array of acrobatic moves. From the iconic triple jump to wall jumps and long jumps, players were given a diverse set of tools to navigate the world like never before. The impact of Super Mario 64 extended beyond Nintendo's doorstep. Its innovative design inspired other game developers to explore the possibilities of 3D gaming. Many 3D platforms that followed in its wake took inspiration from its mechanic, level design, and overall sense of adventure. The success of Super Mario 64 marked a turning point in gaming history, setting the stage for a new era of 3D gaming experiences. It laid the groundwork for other legendary titles, such as Banjo-Kazooie and Spyro the Dragon, each contributing to the evolution of the 3D platformer genre. Beyond the technological achievements, Super Mario 64 also left a lasting impact on gaming culture. It became a cultural phenomenon, captivating players of all ages and inspiring a new generation of gamers. Its influence can still be felt today, with its legacy celebrated in various forms of media and even in the design philosophy of modern games. The speedrunning community is also still very active to this day. In this video, we embark on an exciting journey through time as we explore every release of this iconic game and find out the ultimate way to experience it. From the pioneering Nintendo 64 version to the most modern iteration by Nintendo to what the fans have created, we'll carefully examine each one to determine which stands as the absolute best. So, grab your controller and join Mario in its timeless adventure through the Mushroom Kingdom. Get ready for the best way to play Super Mario 64. Kick things off by examining the technical side of the original Super Mario 64 release on the Nintendo 64. Upon its debut in 1996, the game was designed to run at a resolution of 240p and targeted a frame rate of 30 FPS. However, it is worth noting that the game does occasionally dip below the intended frame rate, resulting in some minor performance issues. However, given the technological constraints of Nintendo 64 era, this was quite forgivable and it certainly didn't hinder the overall enjoyment of the game in my opinion. Now let's talk about the Nintendo 64's controller. For most people it was a hit or miss. A lot of people don't get the three-pronged design, and people like me who grew up with it love this design. The joystick provided excellent responsiveness, which was crucial for controlling Mario's precise movements in a 3D environment. Additionally, the C buttons were intuitively used for controlling the camera, offering player great control over their perspective. I do feel like the C buttons feel much better instead of using a joystick, but we'll come back to that later. It's like the controller was made with Super Mario 64 in mind. It felt like a seamless marriage, enhancing the gameplay and making it feel natural. However, over time you will experience an issue with the joystick becoming loose or unresponsive due to wear and tear. If this happens, you will always have the option to replace it with a new joystick, but it won't be the same. Nonetheless, the controller remains an integral part of Super Mario 64 experience, and it still holds a special place in the heart of the fans. There are third-party controls that you can buy, however, and still have a good time with. The Japanese exclusive HoriPad is a notable one that a lot of people like, but it's pretty rare and expensive. I also found this one that resembles the HoriPad on AliExpress for dirt cheap, and it really surprised me how good it felt. Though it's still a controller from China, so take that with a grain of salt. It could break quite fast, I'm not sure yet. Next, let's discuss the different video output options for the Nintendo 64, as they greatly influence the visual experience of playing the games. The Nintendo 64, in my opinion, looks best when played on a CRT TV using S-video cables. This setup provides the most authentic experience, reminiscent of the 90s era. It's the way many gamers remember playing the game during its original release. For those, however, looking to further enhance the visual quality, some enthusiasts opted for an RGB mod. This modification improves the console's video output and makes the graphics look sharper. However, it is required opening and modifying the console, making it a less accessible option for casual players. On the other hand, HDMI mods offered stunning visuals when connected to modern TVs, but that came with a bigger price tag. I would say this is more for the hardcore fans that intend on using their N64 for a lot of games. A cheaper and modless solution would be getting one of those HDMI line doublers or a RetroThink. Consequently, most players seeking the most authentic and nostalgia-inducing experience will prefer playing this on the classic CRT setup. Now, let's talk about the version of the game itself. If you have the option to choose between the NTSC version or the PAL version, you should always go for NTSC, because the PAL version runs at a lower 50Hz instead of the NTSC 60Hz. I should also mention that there is a Japanese exclusive Shindu version that has some bug fixes, and they added this little feature on the start menu when you press the Z button. The biggest feature on this, however, is the Rumble Pack support, which is actually quite nice but not a game changer. They also changed this infamous So Long King Bowser line that sounded like something else.
So long, King Bowser! Bye-bye!
If you are not a speedrunner and are playing the game in Japanese, I actually might recommend this version. For everyone else, stick to the American release of the game. Oh, and one more thing before we move on, I feel like I should mention ROM hacks. If you have an EverDrive like me and you have the ability to run ROM hacks, you can enjoy an improved experience right on your console. A mod that reduces lag so that the game runs at a smooth 30 FPS, or a mod called Shindu Improvement that translates the Shindu version to English. And of course, there are many more mods that you can play, but hey, that's out of the scope of this video. In conclusion, when it comes to experiencing the original release of Super Mario 64 in all its nostalgic glory, the combination of playing on a Nintendo 64 console with its native controller and a CRT TV using S-video cable is the most authentic way to go. This setup will immerse players in a time capsule, allowing them to relive the magic of Super Mario 64 as it was intended to be played back in the mid-90s. So, dust off that old N64, plug it into your CRT TV and let the adventure begin as you embark on a journey with Mario in the most authentic way. After the original in 1996, Nintendo wanted to prove that their Nintendo DS handheld could handle 3D games well, and decided to port over Super Mario 64 to the DS.
Yeah! Let's go!
Super Mario 64 DS builds upon its predecessor by introducing 3 additional playable characters: Luigi, Yoshi, and Wario. Each character possesses unique abilities that offer varied approaches to completing levels. For instance, Luigi's higher jump allows access to otherwise unreachable areas, Yoshi's flutter jump grants excellent aerial control, and Wario's strength can break obstacles. On the other hand, Super Mario 64 features only Mario as the protagonist, offering a more straightforward and traditional platforming experience. Oh, and don't forget the Japanese Shindu soundbite when you close your DS. The inclusion of multiple characters in Super Mario 64 DS enhances replayability, as players can tackle challenges differently with each character. However, some may argue that the original simplicity and focus on a single character creates more of a immersive and cohesive experience. The transition from the Nintendo 64 to the DS brought significant changes to the controls and user interface in Super Mario. The DS version utilizes the touchscreen and stylus for character selection, item management, and map navigation. While this approach adds versatility, it may take some time for players to adjust to these new controls, especially those accustomed to the Nintendo 64's traditional controller. You might think that playing this on a 3DS would be more comfortable because it has a circle pad, but you're still going to be playing and moving in just 8 directions. Super Mario 64's controls remain more familiar and intuitive on the Nintendo 64. The Nintendo 64's analog stick and traditional button layout offer a classic gaming experience and may appeal to more players. I feel like a 3D game shouldn't be played with a D-pad. Super Mario 64 DS benefits from being released on a more powerful platform, resulting in improved graphics and character models compared to the original N64 version. The DS version boasts crispier textures, smoother character animations, and enhanced visual effects. These upgrades enhance the overall visual experience and contribute to a more visually appealing game. Do keep in mind though, that the DS screen is lower resolution and will make the game look blockier despite having better graphics. Out of all the DS compatible consoles, I would say that the DSi XL is the best option by far. The screens are nice and big and the buttons are nice and clicky. I feel like the other DS systems are a little too small for my hands. Playing DS games on 3DS will make the game look blurry because of the scale that the game has to go across the whole screen, and it doesn't look good in my eyes. You can fix this kind of by holding the select button, which will result in a more sharp video output, but that will just result in black bars all around and makes the game look smaller. So in my opinion, stick to the DSi XL. In contrast, the original Super Mario 64, while charming and nostalgic, cannot match the graphical powers of its DS counterpart. However, some players may prefer the retro aesthetic and simplicity of the N64 version, finding its visuals more endearing and timeless. One of the most significant advantages of Super Mario 64 DS is its expanded content. The DS version includes new levels, secret stars and challenges, increasing the number of power stars to collect from 120 to 150. This additional content extends the gameplay experience and offers fresh challenges even to players familiar with the N64 version. Super Mario 64, while a masterpiece in its own right, lacks the extra content found in Super Mario 64 DS. Some players may prefer the compact and straightforward experience of the original, while others might appreciate the added depth and complexity of the DS version. In conclusion, Super Mario 64 and Super Mario 64 DS are both exceptional games, each with its own unique features and appeal. Super Mario 64 DS offers expanded gameplay, enhanced graphics and multiple characters, making it an attractive choice for players seeking a more varied and modern experience. On the other hand, Super Mario 64 retains its nostalgic charm and straightforward gameplay, appealing to those who appreciate classic platformers. Ultimately, the choice between the two versions comes down to personal preferences, whether the player prefers the simplicity of the original or the enhanced content of the DS version. Both games have left an indelible mark on the gaming world, solidifying the Super Wario franchise as one of the greatest in gaming history. In 2006, the Wii Virtual Console introduced gamers to a wide selection of classic games, including the beloved Super Mario 64. While it was an exciting prospect, there were certain considerations to take into account for the best gameplay experience. And before we continue, I would like to add that the eShop for both the Wii and the Wii U have been shut down, and that you would need a modded console to install the game today. One major advantage of playing Super Mario 64 on the Wii was the option to use component cables or a Wii to HDMI adapter, which allow players to enjoy the game in 480p. Resulting in a sharper visual experience compared to the original Nintendo 64's 240p. Additionally, the game could be accessed through the Wii U's Virtual Wii with native HDMI support, further enhancing the visuals despite some minor visual bugs and darker appearance. However, despite these graphical improvements, the controls were a point of contention. Regrettably, the controls didn't feel as precise and smooth as the original Nintendo 64 release, regardless of the controller I used. The sensitivity of the movement made it challenging to maintain precision during gameplay, which could hinder the overall experience. Consequently, I do not recommend playing this particular release if precise controls are a priority for you. In 2015, Super Mario 64 was also made available for the Wii U's Virtual Console. Unfortunately, this release also suffered from the same control issues as the Wii version. Moreover, a notable addition was the substantial input lag, making the gameplay even less enjoyable. Despite the Wii U being a more powerful console with HDMI output capabilities, inexplicably, the game was still restricted to a mere 480p resolution, similar to the Wii's release. As a result, playing the Wii version through the Virtual Wii on the Wii U provided an even better experience than the actual Wii U release itself. One positive thing I can say though, is that the Wii U version has a save state feature, which is nice, I guess. But in conclusion, while the Wii and Wii U Virtual Console versions of Super Mario 64 offered some visual improvements over the original Nintendo 64 version, the subbar controls and input lag negatively impacted the overall gameplay experience. If you seek the best way to play Super Mario 64, I would not recommend opting for these releases. In late 2015, Nintendo expanded the Wii U's Virtual Console to include DS game support, including the highly popular Super Mario 64 DS. This release brought a fantastic opportunity to play the DS version of the game on the big screen, giving players various screen setup options. Personally, I find the top screen displayed on the television and the touchscreen on the Wii U gamepad to be the most enjoyable configuration. Despite the Wii U's capability to output games in 1080p, Super Mario 64 DS still runs in its native resolution, retaining its characteristic blocky appearance from the DS console. Nevertheless, playing it on a larger display provides a better overall experience, enhancing the visuals and making the game more immersive. Regarding the controls, Nintendo decided to keep the original setup unchanged. Consequently, even when using the joystick, players are limited to moving in 8 directions, which may feel somewhat restrictive. However, there is an effective solution for this issue. By modding your Wii U, which I highly recommend if done responsibly, you can access a homebrew app that enables joystick support. This opens up new possibilities, allowing you to move around with the left joystick and using the right to manipulate the camera as well. Furthermore, the Homebrew app allows for easy customization of controls to suit individual preferences, making the gameplay experience more comfortable and enjoyable. In conclusion, the addition of Super Mario 64 DS to the Wii U's Virtual Console brought the beloved DS version to the big screen, despite having the native resolution limitations. The game's controls, though unchanged initially, can be significantly improved through modding the Wii U and using a homebrew app to add joystick support and customize the controls. With these modifications in place, the game becomes much more enjoyable, and I wholeheartedly recommend this setup for anyone looking to experience Super Mario 64. Super Mario 3D All-Stars was highly anticipated and finally released in September 2020, featuring Super Mario Sunshine, Super Mario Galaxy, and the classic Super Mario 64 on the Nintendo Switch. Super Mario 3D All-Stars offers a visually enhanced experience running at 720p and featuring several valuable additions. One notable enhancement is the inclusion of the full soundtrack right on the menu screen, allowing players to immerse themselves in the game's delightful music at any time. Furthermore, the in-game text, UI, and textures have been upgraded, contributing to an overall visually appealing presentation. Another advantage of this version is that it is based on the Japanese Shindu version that I talked about, benefiting from critical rumble and bug fixes. However, this may present a concern for speedrunners who rely on the backwards long jumps or other certain glitches. The in-game instructions have been tailored to be compatible with the Switch's controller, ensuring seamless gameplay experience for players. I am happy to report that the control issues that plagued previous Wii and Wii U versions have been resolved, and Mario's movements feel much more smooth and enjoyable on the Nintendo Switch. Additionally, the console's hybrid nature offers the flexibility of playing portably or on a larger screen. The inclusion of customizable camera controls adds convenience and enhances the gameplay. Oh, and notably, the option to use the Switch Online Nintendo 64 controller further enhances the authenticity of the gaming experience, appealing to more nostalgic players. A year later, Nintendo added N64 games to their Switch Online service. The Nintendo Switch Online release of Super Mario 64 offers a more straightforward experience, providing the original N64 version at 720p. The game maintains its classic charm and retains good controls, making it enjoyable for players seeking more of an authentic experience. I do find it quite disappointing, however, that they got rid of all the added features they added in the 3D All-Stars release. In conclusion, Super Mario 3D All-Stars emerges as the definitive choice for players seeking the best way to play Super Mario 64 on the Switch, offering a comprehensive and enjoyable gaming experience. And this is, in my opinion, overall the best way to play. You didn't really believe I was going to end the video there, right? I still have to go over the unofficial ways to play Super Mario 64. Let's first talk about the obvious, emulation, but before I continue, only emulate using your own personal ROM files. Downloading ROMs online is illegal. With that out of the way, let's continue. Emulation offers an impressive array of benefits when playing Super Mario 64, surpassing the options provided by official Nintendo re-releases. When emulating the Nintendo 64 version, players gain the freedom to play SM64 on any resolution and use virtually any controller they prefer. Emulation also enables widescreen support and the installation of texture packs, enhancing the overall visual experience. It's evident that these features already make a superior choice compared to any official re-release from Nintendo. Moving on to the DS remake, using the Desmume emulator in combination with TOX input allows for joystick support, which greatly enhances the gameplay experience. Additionally, players can render the game in higher resolutions, effectively eliminating the pixelated appearance present in the DS or the Wii U. The noticeable improvement in visuals highlights how remarkable the game truly looked in the original DS release. Emulating the DS version on PC emerges as a fantastic and accessible way to enjoy the game, surpassing the Wii U experience in my opinion. Furthermore, fans have gone above and beyond by decompiling and reverse engineering Super Mario 64, resulting in an impressive port for the PC. Installation is made easy with the SM64 PC builder, and the port offers smooth 60fps gameplay and improved graphics that can be maximized to the fullest extent. One noteworthy project, Render 96, is completely overhauling the graphics, drawing inspiration from old CGI concept art. This alone makes it a highly recommended port, and the list of features is so extensive that it warrants its own video showcasing its greatness. Additionally, fans are actively working on a mod that will incorporate all the DS content into the fan-made port, further enhancing the gameplay experience. Moreover, the beauty of this port lies in the platform flexibility. Not only is it playable on the PC, but it can also be enjoyed on a modded Switch or a modded 3DS. The versatility of this port makes it unequivocally the best way to play Super Mario 64. In conclusion, emulation offers an exceptional level of customization and improvement over the official releases, presenting gamers with the opportunity to experience Super Mario 64 in the best possible way. Whether it's the Nintendo 64 version, the DS remake on PC, or the fan-made port with its impressive graphical overhaul and the platform compatibility, emulation stands as the definitive choice for the ultimate Super Mario 64 gaming experience. If we are talking about the best official way to play, get the 3D All-Star release for the Switch. But if you're looking for the most authentic way, there will be nothing that beats the Nintendo 64 version on a CRT TV. But realistically, no matter how or where you play, Super Mario 64 is one of the best video games ever made, and I hope you have a great time playing it. And I hope you had fun watching my video. If you really liked it, don't forget to subscribe. I will be posting more of these kinds of videos. See you next time. Goodbye.